everyone from Bethnal Green Ventures. I hope this video finds you all well. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone that came to the talk the other week. It was lovely to meet everyone and to learn about your businesses. Truly amazing some of the things you're doing, and the fact that you're pursuing things that are going to have some sort of social impact or some social good just makes it all the more rewarding. So you'll remember that I was live streaming everything and saying that I'm the media kid and I'm getting this on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and all sorts of stuff, and the distribution is going to be crazy. What I didn't actually realise is that the audio was muted for the entire time. So all we have is a bunch of slides, then my stupid face every so often just pointing at the board behind me. So I said to the guys, I'm going to do a little video right now just to go over the talk that I've done, just a refresher so you've got that resource if you need it. So first thing I talked about was a little bit of marketing fluff. You're not allowed to go to a marketing talk without some kind of fluffy stuff happening in between, and I talked about mentality. Now what I didn't say is this is actually nicked from one of my very favourite marketers, a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, so I highly recommend you go and look at some of his stuff because it's absolutely fascinating. Think super high energy American dude.
Where I think people are misunderstanding things is that the cost of entry to being relevant in our society today is content. If you're not putting out stories, you basically don't exist. And so what I really wanted to make this video about is for once and for all to put a stake in the ground or my fist on this table, go Khrushchev style since I'm Russian. Every one of you is a media company.
So why did I say that? Well, ultimately content on the web is the way that you're going to speak to your customers. And if you're not publishing anything, you're not saying anything, you're not communicating with them. Gone are the days where you can just come up with some sort of message and smash it down their throat with some display advertising, or just come up with some random message and throw some leaflets at them or something like that. If it's a complicated product, which 90% of the people at the talk, no one sells door hinges or light bulbs or anything like that. These transactions, they don't happen in isolation. And also, when we look at the global ecosystem in terms of the internet, we can see that now Facebook is taking over Google as a major traffic referrer. And so those two combined are literally making up 70-80% of the entire internet's traffic, which is an insane number. So if you're not either ranking in Google and producing content for them or doing well from a social point of view, you're kind of missing out. So we then talked about how you can start your very own kind of content marketing and socially led campaigns to drive more traffic to your website. The first thing we talked about was measurement. So I pulled up a quote from Peter Drucker, which said, "What gets measured gets managed." Very famous in the management world. So when we talk about measurement, we talk about three major things when it comes to any sort of conversion or transaction. First and foremost, unless you're selling light bulbs or door hinges or pots of paint, transactions don't happen in isolation. So there's a kind of conversational layer up the top, an informational layer in the middle, and a transactional layer at the bottom. So conversational layer right at the top, so people are starting to see your content for the first time, understand your brand for the first time, maybe sharing that with a friend, liking a Facebook page here or there, like really low touch type stuff that you can't go to the bank manager and say, you know, I'm doing really well, I've got 100 Facebook likes. Ultimately it's, you know, unless there's revenue increase, none of this stuff actually matters. But what you can say is, well, Facebook likes. This then led to the informational KPIs. The informational KPIs is when we take them out of the paid acquisition funnel. So what do I mean by that? Well, essentially it is if you've got some really interesting either utility content, social currency content, or something that is a kind of emotive and entertaining that brings out the best in people, you can quite happily exchange that for contact information. So if you are a financial institute and you have something like a mortgage calculator, that's a really solid bit of utility content where you'd be happy to give some information in order to get something back. If you're a freelance designer and you've got a bunch of Photoshop templates just ready to go, if you give them away for free, I'll give you my email address for them. In fact, if you're a videographer and you've got some nice lower thirds that you're going to give away, I'll give you my email address and you can market to me all day for that sort of stuff. So that's taking people out of the paid acquisition funnel. And the last one, of course, is transactional. And of course, this is why we're all here. So it's the most important one. This means lead generation if you're a lead generation website, or just sales, hard, cold cash going through your till. Simple as that. Okay, in terms of measurement and the things I recommended you look at, one of the major things I said was install Google Tag Manager onto your website. Tag Manager is kind of like a doorway for other pixels. So if you want to put on analytics, search console, a Facebook pixel, a AdWords pixel, a Twitter pixel, like the whole thing, instead of you going to your developer every 2 seconds and be like, hey man, can you put this thing on? Can you add this piece of code? Can you add this piece of code? Get them to put on one piece of code one time, and then you can just start deploying pixels onto the site. What that means is you annoy your developer once, make a business case once, and then you can put as many things on the site as you want to kind of help measure your kind of marketing efforts. Trust me, developers are lovely, lovely people, but when you start kind of poking them and depriving them of their kind of pizza and Red Bull, it's not a great look. So trust me, Tag Manager. The second one, surprisingly, was not Google Analytics, but it was Search Console, especially if you're worried about how Google sees your website and what they're kind of generally thinking. So Search Console is like a direct line in to Google themselves, and if you've got that, they're going to tell you all the things that are broken on your site, if there's any penalties attached to your website, what your metadata looks like, and what your sitemaps look like, literally everything. It'll also tell you, people linking to you, the search queries that you're ranking for, like loads of great in-depth insight that you can use to build out your marketing campaigns. And lastly, of course, Google Analytics. It's just a real core of everything we're doing here. So make sure you've got GA on the website and make sure you connect all of them together. So in the slides that accompany this video, you'll see that I've made separate videos that show you how to connect everything up. But if you're in front of your computer right now, go to the admin panel and then you can do all the account. It's the second column across, and you can add all of your accounts in there. You can add AdWords and you can add Search Console, double click, all that good stuff. Next up, we talked about content planning. Now, we talked about something called Hero, Hub, and Hygiene. And I admitted that we were very lucky to be able to do some work with Google and Sainsbury's way back when they launched voice search. So I said that we've just stole it from them. They use this Hero Hub Hygiene model, and I think they publish it quite readily. Hygiene is essentially if someone's looking for a particular keyword and that keyword doesn't exist on your website, then Google's good, but they're not that good. They're just not going to find you. So make sure you've got the words on your page that your users are typing in order to find your product or service. 2 is Hub. So Hub is more kind of social content. Hub is more things that keeps people coming back. So think of engaging blog posts. Think of really well put together images that are designed for social. Think of that thing that kind of connects the community dots. Hub could actually even be your frequently asked questions or a forum that you've got on your site. It's something that is starting that user engagement process for you and adding like an exponential value over your hygiene content. And lastly is the hero content. Now, for those that are there, I told you a little industry inside anecdote that actually ended up getting an agency fired. So if you think back to that one, it was a Christmas campaign. I'm not going to say anymore because this is now going to go publicly on the web, but if you want to find out what I'm talking about, just tweet me at rtavs and I'll happily refresh your memory on that one. But a proper example of hero content is something that it's a big PR piece, something that's really going to make a splash. Like we recommend doing these like once a quarter or even more if you can muster the strength or you get an in-house PR team to really give this a good push. And in terms of the ratios you should be publishing this content, well, I can highly recommend that you follow the Coca-Cola model. We love just nicking big companies' content models here at Ideas Made. 70% should be totally predictable and you should be able to do it anytime and get the exact same results. That's probably your hygiene stuff. If you put a page on about a particular topic and you send users there, it's going to either convert or send them down the funnel a little bit more. It's not going to confuse them. It's not a big PR piece or anything like that. 20% should be that innovative stuff. So the thing that you're experimenting a little bit more, it's a step outside of the comfort zone, but it's not a big mental moonshot idea. But 20% of your content should be that kind of fringe edge innovative pieces. And 10% of it, well, that should be the sort of stuff that you go to pitch in at board meetings, or you go to pitch in to your business partners and they're like, what? Are you mental, mate? What are you talking about? The kind of things that really get people thinking and are a little bit different and are completely out of the norm for the company. The things that, if they make a big difference, it'll completely change the way people look at the business. People love to say it all the time, but I'm going to refer back to the guy that jumped out the spaceship, I think from the stratosphere or something like that. Do we all remember what brand that was? It was Red Bull. That's right. It's the tip of everyone's tongue. We all know because they do insane 10% level marketing. After that, we then started talking about content amplification. Now, this is something that I'm very, very fond of. So when I was speaking to one of my colleagues, they were saying, well, content amplification, are you not just taking the same stuff and just spinning it off and just publishing in other places? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, fundamentally, that's exactly what that is. But that's not a bad thing. So I'll use the analogy of, depending on where you are in the world, you're doing different things at different times. So the example is, if you're on Facebook, you are looking for some sort of stream mentality where you're getting kind of maybe news, or maybe you just keep it close family and friends. And for a lot of people, Twitter's where they get a lot of their news stuff, so you just expect news links and you just expect interesting articles and more direct conversation. YouTube, you maybe expect some slightly longer form pieces. Snapchat, you expect some behind the scenes stuff and some real candid, photographs. Instagram, you expect something that's like really highly polished and beautifully put together and beautifully framed. All of these places, ultimately the content, the base of it, is very, very similar. But the lens through which you're presenting it is completely different. So for example, I'm currently doing this video and live streaming to that camera that's right next to me that you can't see, and I'm getting people interacting with me and talking to me. Now, that's not suitable to cut in to a slightly more professional video, but what I'm doing is I'm ultimately taking the same content that I'm talking about with you, and I'm using multiple channels to kind of cut that up. So here's a great example of how I would use video. Take this video, stream it live through multiple platforms. After the video's done, I'm then going to cut it down into little segments. So we've talked about measurement and some of the tools I use for that. That's its own video on YouTube. Why am I taking a bigger video and cutting it down? If someone searches on YouTube for how to measure content marketing efforts, or how to measure content, or how to measure traffic, or best, anything like that, do you think they want to sit through 30 minutes of me just spieling on and then eventually getting to the, oh, by the way, here's the bit that you need, it's Google Analytics and Tag Manager and Search Console? No, they want straight to the meat of the matter, and they want to know the information straight away. So you're actually doing them a favor. You're not just regurgitating the same old stuff. You're understanding your users' context and how they're looking for information, and you're also understanding how they want it to be shown to them. Do they want it in a lovely image? Do they want it in a GIF? Do they want it in a really snappy video? Do they want it in something scrappy? Like, you just got to know these things. You got to respect the platforms that you're putting your content onto. And next up, there's a little hack that I've recently discovered. So people kind of whine and complain about Facebook choking out the kind of organic reach in a lot of their posts, but truthfully, yes, they are definitely choking that out, and it's getting more difficult to get the same organic reach you're getting for free. But Facebook is a media company, so it's in their best interest not to allow you lots of free organic. Like, where else can you buy, or where else can you get advertising for nothing that is beautifully targeted like that? Nowhere. So, but if you want to still get 100% organic reach on something like LinkedIn or Facebook, the way to do that is through your own group. And on Facebook in particular, Facebook Live Video, it's a little bit obnoxious actually. So it sends a notification to someone, so push notifies them onto their phone, and then it just biases to the top of the newsfeed. What I've noticed when I'm putting out a live Facebook video is that I've only got like 200 odd friends on Facebook. One, he's a bit of a loser. I deal with SEO all the time. That's why I don't have a lot of friends. But my reach is like 1,200, like way over 1,000 video impressions every single time I put that on, which doesn't make sense because I only have 200 people connected to me. It's just because it completely bypasses the algorithm and promotes it heavily. That's not going to last forever. That will definitely be gamed then stopped, but it's a nice little hack for the time being. We then talked research and ideation, which is definitely one of my favourite subjects. So if you're wondering what kind of content you should be writing purely from an article standpoint, do your keyword research. So first place I always like to go, Google Search Console. If you've got that, Google actually tells you where you rank and what you rank for. I'd filter that by everything below, say, number 30. And I would take those keywords and cross-check them against something called a content gap analysis. Cross-check them against the content on your website to see if those keywords actually match up. So if you've got keywords in Search Console that you're ranking for, say, number 30, but no content, oh, that's an opportunity. I can make content of this keyword that I kind of half rank for, but don't really, and then that'll propel me up the search engines. Another way, of course, is to go into Keyword Planner. Sadly, at the time this hadn't happened, but Google's now completely removed any keyword volume data in Keyword Planner, so you can kind of get a rough idea of what people search for and what they don't, and what's kind of connected, but in terms of real data, no, you're not really getting it. I highly recommend a tool called SEMrush, which will give you competitor data. It will show you the ads they're bidding on. It will show you how much they're spending on ads, where they rank, where you rank, like a whole host of stuff. SEMrush, phenomenal tool. Highly recommend that you start there. Another great one and a favourite of us here at Ideas Made is BuzzSumo. What you essentially do is you take a URL, you put that into BuzzSumo, and then it's going to pull out all of the top pages according to social shares and links on that particular website. A much more clever function is that you can put in a keyword and it'll actually just pull from its index, according to the keyword matching, the topics and the articles that rank best for that keyword. So if you are in social care, put in social care and you can pull it by medium. So like, show me the best performing videos about social care, show me the best performing infographics or images or articles or anything like that. And then it'll pull up a big list of it for you, and it's going to have all of the social shares next to it and all of the links next to it as well. Really, really useful and insightful, so you can actually see what people actively share and what are those kind of little emotional triggers that you need to work into your content to kind of make it go further. We then talked about Majestic. Now, because I'm an SEO person, I always skew towards the SEO tools, but if you want to see what your competitors are doing in terms of their PR strategy or their content production strategy, just drop their URL in there, and what you're going to see is the top pages on their website and who is actually linking to them. So you might think, well, why is that important? Well, if you're in the same industry as these people and you don't have a big PR budget and they do, and they're getting all these journalists writing about them, you can go see every single journalist that's ever written anything about them, and you can just go get in touch with them. You've not had to pay an expensive PR agency, you've not had to subscribe to an expensive media database, you've just got a hit list of journalists you can reach out to with similar content that you know are already receptive because they're talking about it already. The very last thing we talked about was how we actually get this stuff done and how we do our content planning. So there's three major plays that we look at outside of the Hero Hub hygiene model. It's utility. So is this something that's going to be useful to the end user, something that's going to make their lives better or make their lives easier? The second one is emotive. Am I going to maybe see this and have a feeling of nostalgia, or is it going to take me back to some time, or is it going to make me feel a little bit upset or really happy or something like that? The last one is entertainment. Is it a picture of a French bulldog that's scared of a cat running up some stairs? That's entertaining, but ultimately it really isn't applied to business. But you know what I mean? Is it an entertaining video? Is it a fake product? Is it like a little spoof? Is it your office doing a Christmas jumper day or something along, Christmas jumper day is a bit lame, but something along those lines? It's a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more light-hearted. And so when you're getting all of this stuff done, one of the things that's going to come out is how much is it going to cost, how long is it going to take, and what's the quality control. So this is when we need to remember the project scoping triangle. So good, fast, and cheap. If you want it fast and cheap, it ain't going to be good. If you want it cheap and good, well, it's going to be incredibly slow. this is a really good basic model to work out what's going on. So if you don't have any budget, you can either do things a little bit slower and roll it out slightly slower. I would not recommend doing anything slow whatsoever. I just recommend publish, publish, publish. I recommend going fast. If you don't have the money for like pixel perfect setups, if you don't have the money for getting video and PR people and stuff like that, well, sweat equity, my friend. Just like get the head down. I mean, right now I'm making this video for you. It's 9 o'clock at night on a Monday and I'm inside a shipping container. That's not a lie, and that's not a brag either. I'm just saying that if you need to make it, go ahead and make it and spend the time doing it. And the last thing we talked about was some really useful tools. I'm not going to go into them all in great detail, but in the slide there, everything is linked. If you go to my Twitter page @artavs or @_ideasmade, you can see more information there. Obviously get in touch with the guys from Bethnal Green Ventures if you want to explore any more of this. Any particular questions you might have, then feel free to drop me an email. I'm ross@ideasmade.com. I'll happily have the team have a quick look over it and give you some kind of general advice. Lastly, thank you very much for watching this twice. You're absolute troopers to listen to the whiny Scottish Tintin looking guy who gets a little bit too over enthusiastic about digital marketing, and I hope to see you all really soon.